Now, it's an annual argument. Should the date of Australia Day be moved? A new poll has revealed that Australians are not in a rush to change the date. In fact, only 35% of people want the date moved from January 26. Only 35%. You wouldn't know that from how loud the activism is. The YouGov survey also found 46% of people were keen for the country to become a republic now or when the Queen dies. And 41% liked Advance Australia Fair as the national anthem, with 59% wanting the flag to stay the same. They're interesting results, and to discuss this and a whole lot more, I'm joined by LNP Senator for Queensland, Matt Canavan, and Labor Senator for New South Wales, Tony Sheldon. Welcome to you both. Great to be with you again after the past month or so. Matt, I'll start with you. I think those survey results speak for themselves. The majority of Australians, mainstream Australians, are perfectly happy with the date of Australia Day.
Well, Shari, I'm Happy New Year to you, by the way, and I'm not surprised by these poll results because, I mean, for one thing now, we can't change the day of Australia Day because if we did, we wouldn't be able to debate whether we should have Australia Day on Australia Day. And that has now become just part of Australia. It's like a tradition now. Every Australia Day, we, of course, have this big debate about whether we should have the day on Australia Day. And that's just like you go to a citizenship ceremony, you go down the beach and play cricket, and you debate whether the date should be on Australia Day. That's what we do. So we just can't change it now. It's part of being Australian. And look, I really, for those who do want to change the date, I mean, it surely would be incumbent on them to suggest what date would you have alternatively, because I think whatever date you have something significant like your Nation's Day on, it has to be a day that means something. It has to have actually something have happened of significance on that day. And there is no doubt that the planting of a Union Jack at Port Jackson on January 26, 1788 was a significant day. Now, for some, of course, it had negative consequences. I do think also there has been positive consequences, but it was a date of significance. And so if you wanted to change the date, well, what is the other day? You can't take the date of Australian Federation. That's New Year's Day, so it doesn't really work. And you can't do Anzac Day. We do other things on that day. So what would be the date? And no one ever says that. I think we've got a good date. It has these sort of debates. I mean, a serious point. I was being a bit facetious before, but the serious point. This date makes us think about our history, and that's what a national day should do.
Well, on that point, I mean, Tony, conversations about Indigenous Australians and the past wrongs are obviously very important. It's part of our history. I remember a couple of years ago, and I wrote a front page story on this at the time in the Daily Telegraph, Scott Morrison, who was then Treasurer, suggested having a sorry day. So you had a separate day when you recognised the wrongdoing to Indigenous Australians. Do you think that would be a better idea?
Look, I mean, I think the first thing is on Australia Day is that it is the day that we not just celebrate, but most importantly reflect on what happens in Australia, how we actually operate as a community, and most importantly, the First Nations peoples. And that is to make sure that we actually recognise both the injustice, but also the need for justice for Indigenous and First Nations peoples in this country. Regarding the Sorry Day, I think that, Sorry Day is something that, we should be regularly saying about what are the things that actually make our country great and what are the things that could make it greater. And one of those things is to celebrate and to give a voice to First Nations people and ask them what they want. And I think that's part of, what's important with the Uluru Statement from the Heart, where we talk about the opportunities for us as a country to come together, celebrate the fact that we've got a wonderful 65,000-year history of First Nations peoples here, and how do we make sure that we reflect on the mistakes and the things that have gone right, and how we make things better for the future. And whether it's the 26th of January or whether it's another date, it's really the key point is about what are we doing about those very important things that brings together.
Yeah,
absolutely.